Yeah.
I mean, that's real. That's, sometimes dads need
Agree with
napkins.
that.
That's reality. Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
it
you
is,
meant
man.
dads have 13 kids. I was like, yeah, it's very possible.
I
It's
mean, Nick
very, very
Cannon's
possible.
got 10. Elon Musk has
But
35.
these guys also have millions of dollars.
This is true. This is true.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the motivation to like keep working at such a high level. Like I saw, Eddie Murphy has this new doc out about his life, and I saw he's doing press, and he's like, my 10 kids really keep me grounded. And I'm like, how do you even have time for like you're like rolling calls all day? You're just like, I gotta call kid number 7. Like,
Well, here's the thing. So there's this football guy. Cromartie was his name. He used to play, right? Have you ever heard this story? So he was doing an interview. It was like on ESPN, and he had like I want to say 11 or 13 kids by like 10 different baby mamas. So they asked him to name his kids. He got to like 6, and he
Yeah,
couldn't
I
remember
mean,
his kid's name. I was like, see,
I mean,
is that
it's
CTE?
yeah, that's not great. I want to know if he can name like his entire roster team because like I feel like he should study. I feel like if you have that many kids, you should know. You should know the name. I remember growing up like or the older I get, my dad would be like, how old? What year were you born again?" And I'm like, "Come on, like
No. Seriously, it got so bad. I had to. I don't know if you guys can see. I had to like put their birth dates on my own.
oh yeah,
You just like,
that's
oh
a
man,
very
what's the birthday
smart
date?
parenting hack
Yeah,
to remember." Oh, I always got it. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. If I get a
I
text,
have
that's what I should do. I should put
I
their
have my kid's name.
name.
yeah,
You're not going to
Yeah.
forget Keith's name, but birthday.
yeah,
Well, I really
See-
have no excuse,
yeah. No, so
even
look,
when I've lost my mind.
I have me and my wife's anniversary tattooed on the top of my foot,
There you go. I mean,
so you never forget
yeah.
it.
Yeah. She's
I
like,
have the opposite. I remember. She doesn't.
Mm.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Ollie, do us a favor and
Yeah.
introduce our guest.
Oh, sorry.
CTE. I know. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, folks. Today's guest has lived 2 incredible lives. First as a college football star and NFL cornerback, and now is one of Food Network's most dynamic hosts and judges. After a standout career with the Arkansas Razorbacks, Eddie Jackson went on to play for the Carolina Panthers, Miami Dolphins, New England Patriots, and the Washington Redskins, now the Commanders. But when his football career came to an end, he traded playbooks for recipes and followed his lifelong love of cooking. Eddie burst onto the culinary scene on MasterChef, one Food Network star, and has since become a household name as the host of hit shows like Kids Barbecue Championship, Christmas Cookie Challenge, and his own Out Chefed. Whether he's behind the grill, judging a bake-off, or mentoring the next generation of cooks, Eddie brings the same energy and heart that made him a star athlete. Please welcome chef, host, and former NFL player Eddie Jackson to World's Greatest Dad. We got the NFL in the house today.
What's going on, fellas?
Man, what is going on? I can only imagine like you would be the ultimate like dad on the sidelines coach at the flag football game. I can imagine.
Ali, I'm telling you right now, like I have to restrain myself right now. My son, he's 6, he's playing soccer, and I'm so competitive. When I'm on the sidelines, I've almost gotten to like 2 fights. This is first year playing. Almost got to like 2 fights. It's bad. I'm so competitive. But my son now has picked up on that competitive nature. So he doesn't like to lose, man. He plays really, really hard. So you're right. Some of that NFL and football stuff that I have inside of me just kind of carried over into my son.
So what's the soccer vibe for, you said 6-year-olds? Like
Yeah.
what are the other parents equally as intense, or are they just kind of like, oh, we just want them to have fun?
Yeah, Little League in general, parents are intense. A lot of times, at this age when they're in Little League, these parents are living vicariously through their kids. You know what I mean? But more than that, like with my son, his name is Trey. He's the third, so we call him Trey. He's like how do I put this? Very aggressive. So he's out there playing football and they're playing soccer. He's playing like American football. So, we had a couple players like, hey, you think you can calm him down a little bit? I'm like, no, I cannot. Because you can't coach that. You want that. You want them to have that edge. So you can't coach that. I don't want to coach them out of it.
I mean, I'll just throw this out there. I really wanted my son to. He's a great runner. He did distance. He's got none of this comes from me. All from the wife, right?
Yeah.
He's got legs. Comes from a family of people who have legs.
Did you
right?
say he has legs?
He's got legs, dude. Kid's got legs. He's got legs. When he played Little League baseball, all right, he didn't even bother trying to swing. He knew he'd draw a walk. And he was a guaranteed run. Because once he walked to first, the coaches would kind of literally kind of laugh as he would just go, Yeah. So I was like, we got to get this guy into soccer. A World Cup athlete is like sprinting 8 miles a game. I was like, he could do this, right? I think to a degree, COVID got in the way of his early introduction so that when we did get him into soccer, it was too late. Because, this might sound like a stereotype, but soccer is a big sport in the Latino community.
Yeah.
And those cats come to play. Like, I remember YMCA, when you would be playing YMCA and there'd be a YMCA in a more like an Hispanic community. They were doing drills at 6. They were very serious. They already knew all this stuff. So I think some of that aggression can pay off because real soccer is brutal. You know what I mean? Yeah. They don't play.
Yeah, real soccer is brutal. We went to Portugal. I took the fam to Portugal this summer. And we did a soccer camp over in Portugal. Now, like in the States here, we play soccer. But once you go overseas, they're playing soccer, like real soccer. And he held his own, but I was telling, my wife, I was like, that's totally different from the soccer we've been playing over in Texas. These guys, and then it was a vacation spot. So it was people from like London and Australia and Portugal and Spain. They were on vacation, so all the kids, they would do soccer camps like twice a week. So we took them out there a couple of days, and man, these kids, 6 and 7 years old. I mean, they've been playing since they came out the womb. Look like.
I mean, it's interesting as as someone who's played in the NFL and knowing how that sport is just the king, king of the mountain in America. You realize when you are international, man, soccer is the game. It is truly the world's game. It draws in the best athletes amongst other countries. I think that's where we always end up falling short is we don't have the athletic draw to that sport compared to obviously the rest of the world.
Yeah, and it also draws death threats. Those fans over there are crazy, man. They send death threats if you miss a goal.
We might be losing Neil because he's not the biggest sports guy.
I love a good story. What year did you retire from the NFL, by the way?
2009, 2010.
Okay. So your kids never got to know you as a professional athlete. What do they think about, the whole world of like professional sports and, you having been in it? Like, do they think about it at all? How does that come into the daily?
Yeah, right now I don't think my son really grasps, like exactly what I did. Matter of fact, we were watching a game, an Arkansas game the other day, and the team we were playing was playing LSU, and it's a historic rivalry. We play for the boot, and we've had historic matchups over the years. And one of the games that we played in was called the Miracle on Markle, where basically we went into overtime. We threw this long ball and we scored right at the end and won the game. It was a huge deal. Anyway, they showed it and it was me on the TV screen. So I was like, Trey, come here, look at this. And he like had his Nintendo Switch in his hand. And he was like, oh. And like, I was like, dude, it's like a big deal. He could care less. if it's not LeBron James or Steph Curry, like like he's like, it doesn't matter.
Right. So, all right. So you famously, would you call this a second act, a third act? I mean, talk about a pivot. Like,
Yeah.
can you talk to us about kind of when you left professional sports and decided, you know what, I'm gonna try something else. I'm gonna kind of move into the food world, kind of like stay in the limelight, but in a very different way. Like, how did you make that decision, and what was the transition like?
Okay, so it's funny that you said that. I'm sitting in my office and I just watched my dad walk up the driveway. I had no idea he was coming over, but all this came from my dad. Watch this. I had no idea he was coming. Pops, come here. I'm doing this podcast. It's called World's Greatest Dad. Say what's up.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
No, he can't see you.
Get
You
in,
don't
get
know, you don't
in.
know, you don't know technology. Here we go. So this is my dad. So the name of the podcast is World's Greatest Dad.
Take a seat. Take a seat. Join us.
Okay. No, so when I was younger, I used to cook all the time, and my grandmother's growing up on both sides, my mom's mom and my dad's mom. They were really good cooks. So everything was centered around food. Lots of cooking. My dad used to cook all the time. And so what happened was that when I went to college, we had no money. So guys we was eating like cheap meals, ramen noodles, the typical college fare. But what I started doing was cooking, and I would sell plates to my teammates. So I would sell like home cooked meals and things like that, like meatloaf and mashed potatoes and fried chicken, all the stuff that they were missing from home. So that was my stick. And so just cooking has always been a part of my life. And once I retired, I was like, man, I want to do something with food. So I started doing that more, started a small catering business, and it just grew and grew and grew. And just one day I got on MasterChef by accident. I didn't even know I didn't even enter to be on MasterChef. My girlfriend, which is my wife at the time now, she entered me on MasterChef as a joke. And I was at the house one day and I got a call from MasterChef and they were like, hey, are you coming for this audition? And I was like, what are you talking about? And she was like, oh, they actually called you? So I went down, got on the show, and I ended up doing really good on the show. So I was like, man, maybe I could do this TV thing. A few years later, I was at a catering event, and I came home, and I was sitting on the couch just tired. I catered for like 400 people. And I was watching Food Network, and it came on. It's like, hey, if you think you could be the next Guy Fieri, try out for Food Network star. And I literally just grabbed my laptop and I applied and I got on the show. I got on there and it was like people that had like restaurants and like all this stuff. And I was like, I don't think I'm going to make this. And sure, I ended up winning. So that's how it all came to fruition.
About
I had
the
idea, no plan of being on TV or anything like that.
Well, that's the other component, right? Is because I remember we did Tailgate Takedown together. Like,
yeah,
you're a natural host. Like, how did you harness that element as well? Because it's one thing, okay, you played professional sports.
Mm-hmm.
That's one set of skills, right?
Yeah.
Football, and then you're an actual like chef, another set of skills. But then it's like like the lights, the stage, the camera, like it's intimidating. Did you have like did you do the High School Musical like Neil? Neil is a bit of a musical guy, just so you know. Just saying.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Get ready.
No, actually, I think it truly, to be honest with you, I'd like to say I'm a personable person. And so I was always I was a kid growing up that would we would have like little talent shows at the family reunion. I would be the first one up there. I used to have a Michael Jackson outfit. I'd be up there doing Michael Jackson. I remember one year I dressed up as my grandma at the family reunion. I had like pillows in my gown. I had her glasses on, and I was over there twerking. She had a big old booty. I was over there twerking. So I've always just kind of been the type of person that doesn't mind being in front of people. I don't get nervous when I get in front of people. I just never thought it would translate, just being in front of a camera. But when I do that, when I'm hosting, I just be myself. This is just how I am. every day. This is just me, So it's not like it's hard for me to get up to. And Holly, it's just like I've hung around you, outside of filming. I'm like, this is just exactly how he acts, in front of the camera. So that's just with me. That's just me being me. There's nothing special about it, I don't think.
I remember very specifically because, when you do shows where it's like, you're around other talent and you're basically, in these kind of competition things where you're looking for basically sound bites, right? We're there to like deliver these good clips.
Yeah.
I remember whenever we were eating on the tailgate, you said, something about like, everyone, whenever someone says this is their Meemaw's recipe, it carries with it a certain kind of weight. But you just, you said, and I'm someone who, spent a little bit of time like with food writing and stuff. And that's just so insightful because Meemaw speaks volumes. It speaks volumes to food and culture. And I'm kind of curious about that too, because if you want to talk a little bit about the culture of food that specifically your family represents, because I feel like that's a big part of your culinary point of view.
Yeah, so of course I grew up in the South. I was born in South Georgia. And so I grew up, before I moved to Texas. I didn't move to Texas until I was like 10 or 11 years old. So, and how my father grew up and how I grew up for the first 10 years was basically like we didn't, there wasn't a lot of fast food. We grew up in the country. So everything was made from scratch. I mean, fresh corn and fresh green beans, shucking peas and things like that, processing your own meats. My grandfather had a smokehouse in the back where, slaughter the hogs and things like that. So these are the things, fishing. So these are the things that I grew up with, and it wasn't until I kind of moved to Dallas and my dad cooked a lot, but between, my dad was single and raised me. So we, every now and again, we eat fast food and things like that. But for the most part, I grew up at an early age. Not even, McDonald's. What is that? You know what I mean? So it was, we were like Eddie Murphy said, we was making those welfare burgers where you get, you cooking that ground beef in a cast iron skillet with some white bread. You got fingerprints on the bread.
Well, it's so funny because even with the welfare burger, I mean, I love it.
You remember that?
Of course. But like when raw, I mean, but what I think is amazing is the way you grew up is literally like how restaurants and chefs market their product.
Exactly.
Farm to table, locally sourced. Yeah. And Eddie's like, we don't have a McDonald's, like let me just throw a little cold water on your, on this aspirational thing. Shucking peas? Like I didn't think. I'm still trying to get over that one, but that's pretty prolific to grow up that way, right?
Yeah, it wasn't farm to table; it was literally like backyard to kitchen. That's what it was.
Can you mentioned your dad was a single dad? Can you talk a little bit more about what it was like growing up with your dad and just kind of some lessons that he taught you as a kid that maybe carry through? That brought you through adulthood and now being a dad yourself? Like, where's that? Can you draw that line for us from your childhood?
Yeah, so at a very young age, at one point, it was just me and my dad, and then my sister came along. But when it was just me and my dad, a lot of times, that's how I really and truly kind of learned how to cook and things like that, because sometimes I would have to make my own meals. I would watch him cook, and we would basically, now they call it meal prepping. But my dad would cook something on a Monday and, hey, this is what we're going to eat, do this for the rest of the week, because he was working, and I would be coming home from school. And so meals was already ready inside the refrigerator, things like that. Now they call it meal prepping. You know what I mean? So we were just cooking for the whole week, because we didn't have a lot of time and didn't have a lot of money. So we would, transform different things. We would cook chicken one day and then we'll take the chicken and make a chicken pot pie the next day. And the day after that, we'll make chicken and dumplings with the leftover chicken from the chicken. You know what I mean? So, but that's meal prepping now. But no, at a very young age, my dad kind of taught me how to kind of take care of myself. And so, and that all translates to now me doing the same thing with my son, responsibilities and things like that. And one of the big things that my dad used to always say is if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. So these are like simple things that, I used to take for granted with my dad growing up. But now I'm like, man, this all makes total sense. My dad was a military man. So, everything is in the place and proper preparation, things like that. So these are life skills that I try to teach my kids now. Even though they're young, the more you keep repeating it, eventually it's just going to stick.
Not to date ourselves, but we are rapidly approaching Thanksgiving. And knowing that your dad is such a prolific cook as well, like, who's cooking the turkey at the Jackson household? Because I imagine there's some competition here because cooking is such a big deal with your family.
Yeah, Pops, he retired. Like he cooks every now and again, but he'd rather come over and just relax and eat. Every now and again, I'll have him help me out with something. Man, can you make that gravy that you make so well, or some deviled eggs or something like that? But for the most part, he's retired now, so I do the heavy lifting now. And I have a lot of friends and a lot of neighbors that know I'm on Food Network, and I have these huge smokers and all these different things. So I'm already getting turkey orders for Thanksgiving next week. I think I got about 4 turkeys already that I'm cooking for friends and family. Huh? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
How are your kids as eaters? Do they love it all? Like, what are some of their favorite meals that you cook for them?
Well, so with me, my especially my son, because I cook every day. I mean, pretty much I'm cooking every day, and I cook all kinds of things. And I try to expose him to different cuisines and different cultures. So my son literally, he'll eat anything, or he'll at least try it. Now my daughter, she's getting better at it. She's more of a finicky eater, but she's way better than most kids. She's outside of just, chicken fingers and pizza. So, but with my son, like yesterday, what's today? Sunday, I made some salmon for dinner. He woke up Monday morning. He said, I think I'll have some salmon and eggs this morning. Like, what? And that's what he ate for breakfast.
Really? He had
Yeah.
salmon and eggs?
Yeah.
Like, did you heat it up and all that?
I heat it up just a little bit and with
Yeah.
some soft scrambled eggs, and that's what he had. And then yesterday before soccer practice, he was like, "Hey, I think I want some toast with eggs and a little bit of avocado. Is that good?" I was like, "You're 6. What are you talking about?"
And how old's your daughter?
She's 3.
Oh, I mean, she's got my. It's funny. I kind of had the opposite. My kid would eat anything I would put in front of him, except for like nuts, because he has a anaphylactic
Has an allergy.
Yeah, big time,
Okay.
right? But then, like at some point, as he got older, he just started. I remember the first time he said "ew" to a vegetable, and it was around like 3 or 4 or something, and now, like, dude, I probably paid for the guy who started Raising Cane's. I probably could pay for a wing on his freaking house right now because he loves that Raising Cane's, dude.
Yeah.
It kills me. You know what, Neil? What are your kids? Are your kids like? I mean, you're in Brooklyn, so you've got every kind of opportunity to eat the whole darn world. How are your kids as eaters?
Well, it's a challenge, but I think every new food that like we can get them on board with is a win. Of course, I'm sure you've seen that meme of, we travel so that my kids can sample chicken fingers from all over the globe. And chicken fingers and fries is a nice go-to. But no, I mean, they're definitely, well, first of all, my son will eat. He'll try anything. We call him the try guy. He's 5. My daughter's 7. She's a little bit more particular. And it's like, I don't want to try that. But, I think we do that thing where we just like have a bite, have a bite, have a bite. And if we can get them to have a bite, eventually they'll go, you know what? Yeah, on their 20th time, I'm kind of into salmon. Or, I'm kind of into, finally she's on board with sushi, ramen. We're getting there. And I think by the time they're older, they'll hopefully have been exposed to so many foods. They'll eat Chinese food with us now. That I just want them to be able to kind of like be exposed to stuff and explore. I certainly wasn't. We had a bit of a more bland palate in my home in New Jersey.
That makes sense.
Weren't fond of the salt. My wife says I'm like afraid of salt, and I don't know. It was a weird. Food is so interesting. Take us back to like what were some of the dishes growing up, specifically that like really made you fall in love food, cooking? Do you have do you make them authentically today, or do you have put kind of your own spin on them?
Yeah. Well, first thing that I learned how to do, and what really got me into food and loving being in the kitchen was my grandmother, my mom's mom. She was the head chef at the local high school. Now, remember, like this is South Georgia in small town, so it wasn't like Cisco was coming to drop off cans of green beans. Like they were getting green beans from the farmers and snapping the peas and making fresh made biscuits every morning, frying the chicken. So there was no Cisco trucks pulling up, dropping off food. Everything was from scratch. So I used to go to the cafeteria with my grandmother before I started school, and I would go and hang out with her in the kitchen at the local high school with her, and I would watch her make 400, 500, 600 biscuits every single morning for the kids, and she taught me how to make those biscuits. And so in my cookbook, the first line in there is like it all started with a biscuit, and that's how I kind of got my love for food going.
First of all, I have never ever heard a story of a high school cafeteria sound that kind of level of deliciousness.
Oh
But
yeah,
it also makes me think about, and I'm sure too, watching her cook taught you how to really gave you a jump start into catering because you literally watched her cook for scale. But I'm kind of curious because Eddie, you're a built man, you know what I mean? And you've been away from the NFL in a while.
yeah,
How can you eat these foods and not be 300 pounds, right? I mean, how do
yeah.
you pull that off? Because,
Well,
like it is it's a calorically dense cuisine,
yeah. I
southern
mean, it's
southern
still
soul
it's still
food is.
moderation. You know what I mean? I obviously can't get buck wild with just piling on the calories and things like that. But my biggest thing is because I'm also a personal trainer as well, licensed personal trainer for years. So one of the things that always tell people, you can still enjoy the foods that you love, but it's all about what, when, and how. What to eat, when to eat, and how to eat. So you can still enjoy those things, but you got to make sure that it's all you keep you keep some type of balance in your life, right? So I work out, do something active at the very least 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week. And then I just I don't eat like I used to when I was growing up. Those things, all the loaded calories and things like that, very dense meals, heavy meals. That's why I love Thanksgiving so much. Now you see me on Thanksgiving. Oh, that plate is gonna be loaded with the dressing, the macaroni, the ham, the turkey, 2 types of cakes, all those things. But I don't eat like that all the time.
Okay, I gotta ask. And you know what? I know, Neil, it's like this is gonna turn into a Thanksgiving episode, but this is, I mean, of all the people, I think like getting your playbook, if you will, pun
Mhm.
intended, of
Yeah,
Thanksgiving's huge. Can you kind of run me through like what the game day plan is for Thanksgiving? You mentioned, I assume, turkey
yeah,
and ham. Are you using the
yeah.
smokers? Like, yeah,
Oh
what's
yeah.
that menu like?
So I have two huge J&R smokers. I don't know if you know what those are, but it is huge. It's on the trailer. This it's a commercial smoker. So I could probably cook if I really wanted to. I could do probably about 200 turkeys at one time. It's a rotisserie smoker, but I always bring it because it's so efficient. And Thanksgiving has to be perfect. You have no room for error. Like, oh man, I overcooked the turkey, or I did this. So I always bring it because I always smoke and fry the turkey. So I smoke it first, and then I fry it. But also, I have friends and neighbors. I was like, hey man, just bring your turkey over here and I'll smoke it for you because I can fit all these turkeys on here, and then we kind of just hang out, that type of thing. But with me, I kind of get inspiration throughout the year when it comes to Thanksgiving. The menu is never the same. And I do a lot of traditional things that I grew up with, but then I also like to have fun. Like, I think it was last year, the year before, I made like a oxtail ragu, and that was one of the dishes that I made. And people loved it, and I got requests for it this year again. I like to have fun and kind of and the people that come over, they look forward to it. They're like, okay, we know we're gonna get the green bean casserole with macaroni and cheese, but it's gonna be those 4 dishes that they're gonna like, whoa, what is this? You know what I mean? And I think that's the fun. That's why I love Thanksgiving so much.
So what's the
No, I was, how many people are you having over? Who are you hosting?
We usually probably have about 20 people that come over. We set up a backyard with a canopy and the kids over run out. I live on a golf course and the golf course is closed. So we open it up, the gate. So the kids can kind of run out on the golf course. We got a canopy with music, the smokers going, football is on, we got drinks going. It's always a good time.
So 20 people. How many turkeys? I got to get the actual. I want to get the list here. I want to get the Eddie Jackson
This year, I'll
Thanksgiving
probably
list.
do, for my house, I'll do 2 turkeys. I'll do a regular turkey where I just do just straight in the oven, just straight roast turkey, but then I also do a smoked turkey and a fried turkey. I'll definitely do a brisket this year for sure. You got to do a brisket in Texas. And then a ham or something like that, and then a lot of sides.
How big is the turkey?
We'll get probably about a 20-pound turkey.
20 pound. I mean, look, and I'm assuming when you say brisket, like a whole packer brisket, right? Like the whole thing, end to end,
whole thing.
point to flat.
Oh, but see, you got to remember, I do catering too. So I have in my garage, I have like 2 walls of like just catering stuff. So I have it all set out with, warmers and things like that, but then also have to-go plates. So everybody takes a couple of to-go plates home. That's my thank you, Thanksgiving. That's my kind of thank you for coming kind of a thing.
Do you do the brine thing? Are you a brine guy with the turkey?
No, I don't do the brine. I do like a dry brine. Basically, dry brine is just pre-season it, with whatever rub you're going to use and just let it sit out to dry out. So I do that. I prefer that. I think it makes the turkey a little bit more juicier.
Yeah.
With the brine, wet brine, you get a lot of flavor in there, but I inject it, so I really don't need to do a wet brine. I inject it, and then I do a dry rub on the outside, let it sit uncovered in the refrigerator for 2 days, so it really dries out the skin, and then I smoke it, and then I deep fry it.
I mean, damn. Damn. That is crazy.
Yeah.
What is the go-to leftover Thanksgiving meal? Tell us about, what you're doing the next day with everything in the fridge. Are you putting it on a panini? Are you, throwing it on the stovetop? What are you doing with those Thanksgiving leftovers?
Well, my number one thing to eat the next day after Thanksgiving, the day after Thanksgiving, and I've been this way since I was a little kid, is taking pieces of the ham and just putting it between 2 pieces of bread with some mayo. And that's like the first thing that I eat, just like a quick little ham. And I love it. I don't know what it is. It's just something nostalgic about that. Just taking pieces of that ham, a little bit of mayo on some really good bread and just eat it. It's so good.
I have to ask the Mayo question. Hellman's or Duke's?
Dukes, what are you talking about?
Oh,
No,
Duke's.
yeah,
You're a Duke's guy.
Yeah,
You're a Duke's guy. Okay.
Dukes and Blue
Okay.
Plate. One of the two.
Oh, really? I don't have to consider that. I'll have
Blue
to give
Plate
it a
is
second shot. I'll have
Yeah.
to give it a second shot, but
Yeah,
I
but
do like
Dukes is my favorite.
Yeah, Duke's is very, very, very good.
You know what I've been
mayonnaise.
using a lot lately though? And I really like it. I love Japanese mayo. I like
Yeah,
it. Depends on what
QP.
I'm using it for. Like I use it like when I'm making like salad dressings. It's really good to use it in. And I also use it a lot when I'm making like a marinade, like a wet marinade. I'll use a little bit of that because it has like there's a little bit of like sweetness to it, and a little bit of like almost like a umami, like a MSG type flavor to it. You know what I mean?
What's the most non-traditional thing you're cooking at Thanksgiving?
So I have this dish and I made it a couple years ago and people love it. So in the South, we have stewed okra and tomatoes, right? That's a dish and you eat it over rice. But what I do is I basically put like an Indian spin on it and I add like tons of spices to it. So I have like anise and I have like cardamom and I roast all these spices and then I add tomatoes to it, just let that cook down. And then I hot fry okra. So basically just split the okra and put it right on the cast iron skillet just to get the sliminess out. And then I add it to the stewed tomatoes with all those spices in it. Whole house just smells amazing and you eat that over rice and it's so good.
I literally was tiptoeing the idea of essentially bindi masala because it's
Yeah,
very
exactly.
yeah.
Basically, that's what it is.
Yeah, no, and it makes so much sense, and it's so interesting. Like whenever I'll hear, sometimes occasionally, like feels like there's been a crop of like Desi, like South Asian food writers and stuff, and they'll complain about the traditional Thanksgiving, and they'll really flex on the sides, like because the sides are the opportunity to
Yeah,
create more of a signature,
exactly.
tandoori turkey can kind of
Yeah,
toss you're going one
yeah,
direction there.
yeah.
So I was immediately thinking that. And you're in the Houston area, right?
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, I think that Houston arguably has the best South Asian food in the country. Have you
No,
dipped into that?
I totally agree with you on that. The beautiful thing about Houston is that it's one of the most diverse cities in the country. So you can literally drive down the street and have 10 different types of food, right? So we have a huge Asian population, South Asian, Indian. I mean, anything you want, we have it, but multiple restaurants. And these restaurants are really, really good. Anytime you live in a city that's heavily populated like that's a lot of competition. So it's just like New York, like you got to come with it. If you're going to open up, you know what I mean? You gotta come with it because if it's mediocre, you're not going to last.
Have you taken I mean, it sounds like maybe your son would be more game for it, but have you taken him around? Because I know there's some really legendary Vietnamese, Indian
hmm
restaurants, stuff like that too. Have you taken your kids around to that, or do you
No,
explore that?
my son's favorite dish, my favorite thing to eat is noodles, like ramen noodles. But I'm not talking about like packet ramen noodles, like real noodles and pho. That's his favorite thing, and my daughter is the same way.
Whoa, your 3-year-old
Yeah, oh
gets
yeah,
down with pho.
yeah,
Really?
yes. You give that to her, she's a happy girl.
It really is one of the most unspoken kind of things about Houston and food that arguably it's right up there in diversity
hmm
with New York City. It's just
Yep.
it's one of those things people don't it doesn't really pop into people's minds, but I
Yeah.
know that's quite a thing. Man, your 3-year-old, it's kind of funny. You're like, "Oh, my 3-year-old can
No,
be a
that's
little
the funny
picky,
thing
but
though.
she's having pho."
Yeah, she
That's
eats
huge.
that, but she also eats like an old woman. Like her favorite cereal is Raisin Bran. She eats Raisin Bran. Not even like the crunchy one with the sweetness in it, just like regular Raisin Bran and raisins. She just eats boxes of raisins.
She's setting herself up for a good digestive health,
Yeah, I'm
She's
like,
probably
next thing
got
you
a
know, she's gonna have a purse with some Werther's Originals in it. Talk about here, baby.
big white pearls.
Big
When
white
you were
pearls.
talking about dressing up like your grandma, I was like, why did I think of a Tyler Perry movie all of a sudden?
So, or are you in mute? Ollie, where'd you go? That's okay. That's okay. So tell us, Eddie, you have a lot of jobs. You
hmm
are a TV host, you're a restaurateur, you're a trainer, you're a
hmm
private chef. Like, you do speaking engagements. You do a
hmm
lot of stuff. Probably 10 more jobs I
hmm
didn't even list. How do you find time? Like, what's a typical day look like for you if there is one? And how do you
Yeah,
balance that with being like a hands-on dad? I mean, you got young kids. You want to
yeah,
be around for them. You are very actively
yeah.
involved in their lives, but you're
hmm
traveling, you're managing lots of different jobs. How do you handle
Yeah.
all that?
Well, the biggest thing for me is to try to spend as much time with my kids as I can, and I'm heavily involved in the things that they do. With my sons, I go to every soccer practice. I go to every soccer game. My daughter hasn't really started anything yet, but the biggest thing for me is just to be present. You know what I mean? I grew up with my dad, and he was always present. He was always at my games. He would take me to go train. He was, just always present. So I think the number one thing as a dad, as a parent, is just to be present. You know what I mean? So when kid looks on the sideline, they see you. When they're at practice, they see you. So that's the biggest advice I can give parents is, hey, just be present. A lot of times I see kids at my son's soccer practice, no knock on the parents, but they're not engaged. They don't really care about what the kid is doing, or they're just not there. You're not at the games or anything like that. So I never want to be that parent. So I want to structure my life and all the things that I got going on so that I can always be present, with the Food Network and hosting. You're just not an everyday thing. You know how it is, Ali. I get called here to do this and do that. So, but it allows me to still be present. Now, I've missed some games and things like that, But when I set up things and I set up businesses, I try to set it up to where I can still have those things and also still be present in my kids' lives on their day-to-day basis.
With being a professional chef and running the gauntlet of being in the NFL and to reach that level of performance, I feel like you've had to really master the concept of discipline.
Mhm.
What how do you look at that in terms of instilling that to your kids who are obviously still quite young,
Yeah,
3 and
yeah,
6
yeah.
years old? But I mean, I feel like, and plus your dad was in the military, you said, so
Yeah,
discipline is something
yeah.
that's really been in your life. I'm just
Mhm.
curious how that translates to, again, with a 3 and 6 year old, like,
Yeah.
how do you instill that in them? Do you feel like there's still time to get into it, or how does that all work?
Yeah, I think it's really simple. With me, certain like things that I right now that I'm trying to train my son on and teach my son and my daughter, is I like to call it repetitive energy. So anything in life, the more you do it, the better you're gonna get it. I don't care what it is. And so right now, and that's why I like sports so much. It doesn't matter what sport it is. It trains you, trains the mind. The more I do something, the more I practice, the better I'm gonna get. And that can translate to learning in school. Like the more I read, now my son, he comes home, he reads every single night, and he's gotten so much better at reading. And once they see that success from this repetitive energy, then they get excited. You understand what I'm saying? So that's the thing that I'm most focused on right now at a young age is repetitive energy. Just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And then you'll see the success from it. Like he just did a move the other day in soccer that he's been working on in the backyard for a month, and he finally did it in a game. And the look in his eyes, he was like, "It worked!" Like, yeah, and that's going to be how you attack life. The more you do, the more you practice that repetitive energy. It's going to allow you to have those "I did it" moments.
So that's what it is. It's the focus on the small things, right? And
Mm-hmm.
just focusing on that, getting better at that.
100%.
As an athlete, who are the other athletes that you found inspirational to you? It could be a coach, it could be a professional athlete, it could be Michael Jordan, it could be, I don't know who.
Yeah, so I had a few idols that I would say growing up, when it comes to athletics and things like that. Someone that I always kind of looked up to, everybody says Michael Jordan, but I'm actually a 49ers fan. And I'm a 49ers fan is because I saw this video a long time ago when I was younger, and I saw Jerry Rice training, and my dad used to take me to the hills. We used to run hills, and I'm like, man, why is he taking me to these hills? And I saw this clip of Jerry Rice training doing hill work, and Jerry Rice is the greatest wide receiver of all time. And like in that moment, I'm like, this is why my dad is taking me to these hills. Like I can be as great as Jerry Rice. So that always kind of stuck with me. You know what I mean? Just like when you see that, and he wasn't big, he wasn't fast. I was a skinny kid. And Jerry Rice he wasn't a big, like you think of with a football player. And I was like, man, I could be like Jerry Rice. So my Jerry Rice was really like my first uh, kind of sports idol. And the funny thing is, it kind of came full circle when I made it to the NFL. And I was my first year, I was a backup with the Carolina Panthers, and we were playing the Seattle Seahawks. And the very first time that I got in an NFL game, the first person that I covered was Jerry Rice when he played for the Seattle Seahawks. That was the first time I ever covered anybody, and I
So
froze.
you played with your idol and you played against him.
I played against him. Now, this is when he had braids that started in the back of his head. So, but still,
Hey, hey,
that was the very
you
first
get
person
you
that I covered. Very first
you
person that I
got
covered.
there.
Yeah. And I froze. I froze. Luckily, it was a run play. So if it was a pass play, he would have ran by me because I was just like this.
Uh,
True
it's funny. I
story.
just was seeing these clips, just doom scrolling yesterday, last night of like, I swear, Kobe Bryant, like him passing early, like has just
Mhm.
immortalized him and
Yeah.
his legacy. So you
Yeah.
see all these clips, and I just saw this one. It was just a cut between him and Jordan. Obviously,
Mhm.
Jordan seems Because he was playing, he was still in the Bulls. He was still collecting, the final three when Kobe was playing for the Lakers and started out or whatever. But it's just like I just get that image. You know what I mean? Because there's like Kobe Bryant right up there with Michael Jordan, and you look at that, that's crazy. Did you ever talk to him? Did you ever say, "Hey, Mr. Rice, just so you know, you've been a big inspiration to me"?
Yeah, I talked to him after the game, but it wasn't, it was short lived, but that was just so cool to me that the very first person that I covered in the NFL was just, was Jerry Rice.
What about culinary? I know you mentioned your dad, but who were some of the big influences there?
My grandmother's, first and foremost, my mom's mom and my dad's mom. Just watching, I still think about my dad's mom, her caramel cake. That's my favorite dessert to this day. But growing up, I used to be a huge fan, still a huge fan of Emerald. We grew up watching Emerald and Bobby Flay. Those were my two guys. Just Emerald was kind of the first chef that you saw on TV that like had this like persona about him, boom and bam, and like, had this personality, had this swagger in the kitchen. And then with me, obviously watching Bobby Flay, growing up, and then me and Bobby became really close. So those two guys, I would say growing up, when you talk about like professional chefs, those were the two that really kind of stuck with me.
It's funny you mentioned Bobby Flay because I don't know why this is so stuck in my head. And I was thinking about this before we jumped on, but when you did a barbecue brawl,
Yeah,
you did a season of barbecue brawl, and in the promo, like you like pop in out of nowhere because it was like, oh, you're the new guy in there, and Michael Simon goes, Eddie Jackson, and everything about that, I was like, it was just freaking perfect, just absolutely perfect. And they got him to go all hammy in that, and you just like popped
but
it
the
out of
funny
nowhere.
thing about that though, that promo, that was all like impromptu. Like I just did that stuff. Like I just walked in. That's why Michael looked like that. He was like, Eddie Jackson?
Are you serious?
Yeah, the first I said you cotton picking right.
Shut up! They should have kept it all. Oh, I would have watched that over the actual culinary competition.
You can't say cotton picking, but they kept the part when he's just said Eddie Jackson because I just walked in the door.
It goes to show you that this is why we're in the now. If it was my network, Eddie, maybe I would get canceled for this.
Yeah.
But can you get canceled anymore?
I
would have kept cotton picking.
It was hilarious. I mean, the producers was crying, laughing. They was like, I don't think we can keep that. Can you come in again and say something else? I forgot what I said, but they kept the part when Michael was like, Eddie Jackson? Because I wasn't supposed to go in. I was like, I'm going in right now. This is the perfect time. And I just walked in.
It's too good. Hey, so Eddie Jackson, when your kids are talking about you 20 years from now, and, they're maybe, live in a different city, starting a new career, and they're talking about, it's like, oh, you got to meet my dad. He's great. He's like this. How do you want your kids to describe you 20 years from now?
I'm a lovable guy. I mean, I love all my kids, every day that I see him, my daughter and my son. But more than anything, I just want them to leave my legacy as a go-getter, someone that says, hey, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to make it happen some way, somehow. I'm going to make it happen. I got that from my father. If he said he was going to do something, he was going to do it, whether it was starting a cleaning business or opening up a gym. He said he was going to do it. He was going to do it. And so I kind of have that in me as well. I opened up the gym and I started this and started that. So once I set my mind on something, I find a way to get it done. And so those are the things that I want my kids to see. And I want if I, when I leave this world, I want them to have that same ability that I have and that my father had.
What have your kids taught you in the 3 years that they've been around for you?
Patience is the number one thing. I mean, it's been a couple times where I wanted to throw my son through a wall because he has my personality. He has a quick, funny mouth on him. I'm like, boy, throw him through a wall like them old Looney Tune cartoons where they just go through the wall like that. But no, more than anything is just patience. Working with him every day to teach him just how to be a good human. And that takes patience, a lot of learning, a lot of repetitive energy. Like I said, this not just about sports. So I think that's more than anything is what I learned with my kids.
How do you want your kids to remember you?
The first thing that pops in my head, and I think is the most important, I want my kids to remember me by someone that was always there for them, someone that was always present, someone that was always there for them. I think that's the number one thing that, as a parent, you should be. You should always be there for your kids. You should always be present. And when I say present, that's, they're going to need advice. They're going to stumble. You need to be there to pick them up, teach them. So that's what I mean when I say be present and always be there for them. So I think more than anything, that's what it is.
You're obviously a very competitive guy. You're competitive in sports, competitive in culinary, competitive in business. How has your competitive spirit and the way you view excellence and success changed since you've become a dad?
I don't think it's really changed. Last night at soccer, me and my wife was competing to see who can get Trey's soccer shoes on the fastest, and I won. It's just as simple as that. Now, did I sabotage this shoe? Yes, but may have pulled out a couple of strings that she had to go and retie. But hey.
I think we need to go look at some old tape of your games, your NFL games.
The funny thing was, she was like, it's not about that. She was like, whatever shoe comes undone doing soccer, the other person wins. Sure enough, it was like 5 minutes left and the shoe I tied came undone. I was like, no! And he knew the joke was going on. So as soon as it came undone, he just looked at us and he was like, So I don't think that competitive spirit has left. I think my son has definitely got the bug, which I think is good because being a competitor is not just about X's and O's and not just about wanting to win. I think being a competitor is about doing your best, right? And also I like to leave something like leaving it all on the field. Like I did everything that I could possibly do. I think that's what being a competitor is.
What's one thing you would tell yourself before you had kids, knowing what you know now, having two, having a 6 and a 3-year-old?
Ooh, that's a tough question. What would I tell myself? You know what? I don't think I would tell myself anything. I've been so blessed to have 2 beautiful kids, and just to see how far evolved they are and like being able to experience things that I wasn't able to experience when I was young. My daughter had her birthday in Portugal. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure if my dad we would have did some stuff like that. But I feel like that's the beauty of, family. I feel like that's the beauty of evolution within the family. You know what I mean? My dad was able to do things for me that his dad couldn't do for him. Now I'm able to do things for my son that my dad couldn't do for me. And I want to keep that train going. You know what I mean? I feel like that's my job as their parent, is to put them in a better position than I was. And then the same thing when they have kids.
Love that. Eddie, you've been incredibly generous with your advice, your insights. We do this thing on World's Greatest Dad called the Dad Lightning Round.
Okay.
Are you game?
Come on now. Of course.
All right, Ali Khan, take Eddie Jackson through the Dad Lightning Round.
Eddie Jackson, are you ready for the Dad Lightning Round?
Let's do it.
Parenting advice in 5 words or less.
Love, patience, discipline. Oh man, how many is that?
That's 3.
That's
5
3?
or less. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think that's it. You got to have discipline nowadays. These kids are crazy.
Oh man, you're so irreverent with this. I love it. Pick a superpower: super speed or super strength.
Super strength.
It doesn't surprise.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
you're already
super
strong
strength is.
enough.
Yeah, super strength is a little bit more than super speed. Yes, super strength. You can put a lot on your shoulders, and I think as a parent, you got to be able to put a lot on your shoulders.
That's what it is, Neil. The question was really a metaphor. That's the answer. Favorite dish to cook for your kids?
Um, ooh, for my son, burger. His favorite thing to eat is a burger. For my daughter, it's noodles.
I gotta ask because I love burgers. What does your son like to put on his burger, or if anything at all?
He's really weird, right? So he just like a basic burger, like a cheeseburger, right? Just a cheeseburger. That's it. Meat, cheese, and ketchup. No mayo. That's it. But when I tell you he's beyond the kid menu now, he'll eat a whole grown man burger. He's more than I do.
What?
No
Really?
joke. Yeah.
What? That's wow. It must be in the Jackson genes.
Yeah.
Kids show or movie you secretly enjoy.
I love Bluey. I watch Bluey with my kids. It's hilarious, man. They got some one-liners in there that that are relatable.
Neil is a big Bluey fan.
Oh yeah, they
Big
have some
Bluey
good one-liners in there.
Your kids start a band. What's the band called?
Ooh, and they both love music too, and they're both entertainers. Um, oh man, that is crazy. That's one of those things you got to think about.
Yeah.
I think Trey would definitely be the lead singer, and Aria be a backup dancer.
Okay.
Okay, I'll call it Ebony and Ivory.
Ebony and
You see how
Ivory.
dark my daughter is?
Yeah,
My
fair enough.
my
I haven't
son
seen your son.
my son is super light skinned.
Wait, really? Because your daughter looked fair. I would have. I can't.
No, my
believe
daughter
it.
is my complexion, but my wife, she's light. She's very light. She's like a Jamaican and has some Chinese in her, so she's very
Okay.
light skinned.
Okay.
So I mean, to a point where my son came out, I looked at her. I was like, "We need to talk. We need to talk, baby." He was white.
Oh my god. One ingredient you can't live without.
One ingredient I can't live without.
Mm-hmm.
Um.
And you can't say salt because that's
No,
too
no,
easy.
no, no.
I mean, that's
No,
an
no, no.
obvious one.
Man, I use a lot of lemons. I love the freshness of lemons, so I use a lot of lemons. But I have to say vinegar. Vinegar is one thing that I can't live without. I use,
Yeah.
I mean, all kinds of vinegars, from balsamic, white balsamic,
Yeah.
sherry. I
Yeah.
use lots of different types of vinegar. I use them in desserts, so I use it a lot.
Yeah. Acid.
Mhm.
Album you can't wait to share with your kids.
Album.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still a huge Michael Jackson fan, and so every now and again I like try to get him like on YouTube. He's like, hey, check this out, check this out.
Mm-hmm.
So any Michael Jackson album, because I'm a huge Michael Jackson fan.
Okay. Even History. I mean, that was a tough one. The two discer. Remember
Yeah,
that one?
yeah, that was. But anything like bad. I mean anything.
Yeah.
I just want to get him into Michael Jackson.
Funniest sound your kids make.
My son, there's two things. So my son has this like weird laugh that he does where he's like sucking in air. And he did it by accident one day, and like so now he just does it all the time. It's so annoying. But then like, when I go away, like I miss it.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then my daughter, she watches a lot of Peppa Pig, so she sounds like this like country British girl. So she always says like muddy puddles is what they say, but she says muddy puzzles. And she just walks around the house saying that, and I love it.
You can time travel to any period in history. What year are you headed to?
I am going to. I would love to have experienced the disco era. The Studio 54. I'm in there, baby.
This tracks. I will tell you, Neil. One time when we were doing Tailgate Takedown, we were trading off stories about going to Miami, and I can safely say that if you're in the NFL and you're going to Miami and going to nightclubs, you're seeing the late nights, because I remember you're talking about clubs.
Bro, I lived in Miami for 15 years.
Yes.
That's for another podcast.
Oh man. Oh, amazing. The most you've ever paid your kid for chores?
How much is my mortgage? That's how much. You better get your butt in there and clean your room.
Yeah. Favorite book to read with your kids?
Probably because we like to do it together and we kind of time ourselves, is Llama Llama Pajama.
I don't know that.
It's good. It's good because it's we make it kind of competitive to kind of get through the words without messing up.
I wonder. All right. I just wonder if is it because my kid's older and I missed out? Is it a newer book? It's
probably a little bit. No, Neil, you know Llama Llama Pajama, right?
His kids are
Llama Llama. Yeah, we have 5 and 7. So yeah,
you're in it.
Yeah.
Greatest TV dad in history.
Greatest TV dad in history. I'm gonna say. Well, I'm gonna say the dad from Good Times.
Oh yeah,
yeah, man, he was a hard nose. He brought me my dad. He take no mess.
Yeah,
he take no mess, man.
Yeah, I always think about whatchamacallit, Dynamite. But you're right. There's a whole package there. There's a whole package to that show.
Who were you gonna say?
Oh man, that's it's crazy. What's so messed up is I grew up in the '80s, so and he's essentially taking himself out of the conversation. But of course, I think about Bill Cosby. I remember reading the book Fatherhood when I was a child. I mean, Dr. Huxtable was that TV dad. And I guess to be fair, we're not talking about Bill Cosby, the person.
We're not talking about, outside the studio, Bill Cosby.
You're talking about
we can say Bill Cosby, but
we're talking about Dr. Huxtable. I mean, still to this day, I remember, the scene. I think it was in the very first episode where he talks to, Malcolm Jamal Theo. And he's just like, you got a hard C, and I'll take a hard C over an easy A any day of the week. And I remember I showed that to my dad, who, as an immigrant doctor, was like, yeah, no, I'm not buying into that at all. But I understood it, and I probably used that, paraphrased it to my kid. I was like, we only care about how hard you try. So it's Huxtable. I would go Huxtable. It's tough because Bill Cosby.
Yes,
I mean. It's a good thing I wasn't big into Jell-O pudding pops. That was an easy thing to let go.
Jell-O pudding.
Yeah, I did so much. He was everywhere. Everywhere. All right, Eddie Jackson, the last one of the lightning round. The best part about being a dad.
The best part for me is being a dad is when I see my kid succeed in doing something, even if it's simple things like teaching him how to tie his shoe and then he gets it, the look in his eyes, like those things that we talked about, that repetitive energy is just to see them and working with them, training and getting them to do things, and then the look in their eyes when they actually get it. You know what I mean? Those are the things that I think are priceless.
Okay, Eddie, just an idea here. You could have a book of fatherhood on your hands. All you have to do is call it, I'm serious, repetitive energy. Neil, I think that's a great, the theme of this episode. And on that note, you want to bring us home? Mr. Padover?
I sure do. Eddie Jackson, you are the world's greatest dad.
Oh, this was
Yeah.
fun, guys.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for doing it.
Oh, no worries.